Hey, welcome to Optimize Your Body with Martin Silva, where we talk raw, uncut facts to truly help you optimize your body.
Many questions for you, but for background for our listeners, I'd like just to explain who are you, where you come from, what you do, just so our listeners have a bit of background on yourself.
Of course. My name is Martin Silva, and I'm from the UK originally. I'm from Wales in the UK. And I came over to Australia. Obviously, I'm now based in Sydney, where myself and Ruben are now. We're in lovely Coogee, in a suburb in the east suburbs in Sydney. I moved over here about over a year ago, and I came over here to pursue my passion, which is health and fitness. And I also wanted to delve a bit deeper into modeling and actually broaden my horizon, because there's lots of opportunity here with the modeling gigs and stuff, fitness modeling and whatnot. But it was primarily just for a change of lifestyle and just to embrace more opportunity. My background, I am a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for over 10 years. I'm an elite level, highly experienced personal trainer. I also coach people online as well. And as you know, I have my own podcast as well, which is called Optimize Your Body. I thought I'd put a little plug out there, mate.
I'll edit everything in the show notes afterwards, but no worries.
Great stuff. Yeah, and also I'm fitness model pro as well. So just to break it down for the listeners, like it's bodybuilding, essentially, similar to bodybuilding. Got to the professional level as a fitness model. I've competed about 8 times. So I spent a lot of time doing that and, working as a fitness model. But yeah, my passion and my purpose in life is health and fitness, and actually trying to make the world a better place by improving people's overall wellness, health, and making people look good. That's what I specialize in, getting people in killer shape, essentially. So, for me, the top priority nowadays, Ruben, is health. So, I try to get people to make that a priority, and then the aesthetics and the physique will come with it. But yeah, that's my specialities and that's my background.
That's amazing. And when did you start it? Because everyone has a stepping point, or was gradually when you start creating this passion for fitness. You said it was 10 years ago. So you were a very skinny guy before, definitely.
That's right.
And one of the reasons I want you on this podcast was example that you're probably the fittest guy I know. Personally.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And when did you actually start it? It was something that happened to you, or something specific, or you just kind of like play around with it? I'm going to do some exercise, and kind of you develop that along the way. How was that for you?
Okay, that's a good question. So I've always been active. I've always been, into fitness, exercise, and I've always played sports from a young age. So that's just take a step back. I've always played sports, been a very sporty, competitive child. And my mother always pushed me to play sports, especially rugby. So I used to play rugby. That was my number one sport. And from a young age, I was always big into, as I say, a variety of different sports. When I got to the age of about 14, I was introduced to weight training by my buddy and started lifting weights. And I really, really enjoyed it and discovered that actually that is my passion, and that is my kind of, it became a hobby, essentially. And I started building muscle really fast. So I was quite late when it comes to, puberty, testosterone and whatnot. I was quite late. So when I got to about 16, I started growing, like at a really, really fast rate. So I started building a lot of muscle. And you know what it's like, you're a young lad, you're trying to look good for the opposite sex, for the ladies, I wanted to be a bit bigger for rugby as well. Yeah. So it all started off just like that, mate, really, just lifting weights.
Cool, man.
Yeah, and then by the time I got to about 19, 20, I discovered that I just finished college. I wasn't really focused exactly on what I wanted to do. Yeah. And then I decided, I'm just going to pursue a career in health and fitness, done my personal training qualification when I was 19 and never looked back. But
how old are you now?
I'm 30 now.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Damn. Amazing.
Thanks, mate.
That's really cool.
But I just wanted to say as well, and then I kind of obviously in my late 20s got more into, because I'm very competitive. So when I stopped playing rugby, I needed something to replace, the adrenaline kick, if you like. And that's when I started competing then as a men's physique athlete, and then eventually as a fitness model, which is basically where you're wearing Speedos and your legs are out. So men's physique is long board shorts covering the legs, And then I went into fitness model, so I had to really go for it then and build my legs up.
Which is very hard, isn't it? Everyone struggles with that a lot.
Oh, especially me, mate. I'm not, as you can see, I'm not built to have big legs. I've got long, skinny legs genetically. Yeah. But as you said, sorry, one more thing as well is, a lot of it stems from insecurities as well when it comes to lifting weights and looking good, right? So I was always a skinny young lad. And then when I discovered the gym, I started building muscle. That was just for me then. It was like, oh yes, it was kind of like, releasing any insecurities I had because I was building muscle and whatnot. But yeah, it's good to know the reason why you actually start doing it. Looking back is quite interesting, really. So.
That's interesting. You step on that, the purpose, because one of the episodes, I don't remember which one, but I listened to you. You're talking about to be a good PT. One of the many things you need to have, it's actually also understand the purpose and the why behind your clients want to lose weight or they want to lose, lose some fat. How do you work with your clients to understand their why? Because that goes more into psychology. Let's say you're not only on the fitness coach, but you're becoming more, let's say a counselor or something like that. How do you work with your clients for that? Because you mentioned that it's very important as well.
Another great question, mate. To be honest, only over I've been a trainer for over a decade now, as I said, and it's really only over the last, since I've been here, really over the last year or two, where I've really, since tuning into the Mind Pump Media podcast, that we'll talk a bit more about that.
You would definitely talk about
later
that
down the line. But since tuning into that podcast, it made me realize that actually, I always knew a lot of the things those guys are talking about, but I never really applied them. So, as you say, the why is the most important factor. So, for example, nowadays, when I have someone come in for a PT consultation, for the most part, they'll come into me with, their goals. When I ask them what their goals are, their goals will be to look better. And they're normally certain parts of their body they're not happy with. So, as I said before, if I track back to the insecurities, a lot of people without realizing it are actually the ones who want to just look better. I want to go to the gym because I don't like the way I look. I don't like certain parts of my body and I want to look better. So they're always unhappy with certain parts of their body. So that's one of the first things I address is if they say, oh, listen, I want to work on this area, that area, I'll delve a bit deeper into their training history and then I'll start like unpacking why, why is it you want to, is there any particular reason? Have you got a holiday coming up? Is it for health reasons or is it because you literally just want to look better? And I'll normally not always, it depends on the person, but I'll try and get them to give me 5 whys at some point down not always on the first consultation.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise you scare them.
Exactly. You scare them away, mate.
Yeah.
You've got to be tactical.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, when you come in to the gym, primarily because you want to look better, you can take it from me. It's a never-ending journey and it's a never-ending struggle because you're never satisfied with how you look. No matter how you could be training for a year.
Oh, it's so true.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
You lost 20% body fat or whatever. You look lean. You look great to other people, but to yourself, you still see the same. Body image issues are very, very common nowadays. So. The why is very important, and like I said at the start, I always try to get people to address health and focus on how they feel. Tell me, how are your energy levels? How are you sleeping? How's your skin? All these things are markers and indicators to the level of health you have. And if you get yourself to a good level of health, and guess what? The body will come as a side effect, and that's where I'm at now, really. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to go back now to fitness questions, very specific. I pretty much write down a lot of questions as I was listening to your episodes on your podcast. And you just mentioned now about sleep. And of course, everyone knows sleep is important, but if you break down that for someone that's they want to lose weight or they want to build muscle mass or just health in general, why sleep is so important? And I think people take for granted and people actually not sleeping properly nowadays.
Absolutely. It's part of the epidemic we're actually facing right now, Ruben. So as you know, unfortunately, we're in a state now where we're the sickest we've ever been as on a worldwide scale. Okay. Yeah. So, autoimmune diseases, chronic illness, like cancer, heart disease, all these things have increased exponentially, right? And there's numerous different factors which come into that. And most of it comes down to behavioral issues and environmental. Okay. So most people are not looking after people who find themselves in these positions. They're not looking after themselves one way or another, right? So, but when it comes to sleep, now I listened to a podcast myself recently, actually, and sleep is actually, I would say, it's hard to distinguish the most important part of health, right? So the way I look at it is there's like 4 pillars of health. Exercise, sleep, nutrition, and, social connections. Okay. So essentially interacting with other humans. Those 4 things are the most vital components for your overall health. Now, sleep, I would say, is at the top, right? So, I don't really know where to start, really. There's so many different, for example, they've done studies recently on people that slept under 4 hours, right, for one night. And these are conclusive studies on thousands of people.
That's insane, yeah.
I know, just for one night. They thought, right, we'll see how much damage one night of bad sleep can do. And what they found in most of these individuals was the cells which fight certain types of cancer were reduced by 70%. Okay. Also, lots of different studies have proven that actually they've done a study for just a few weeks on people as well, young, healthy people. And what they found was, over the space of a few weeks, I had a rubbish sleep last night, by the way, so I might not be as sharp. I should be practicing while I preach. No, but what they found is, so the hormones connected to appetite and hunger. So, ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. Mm-hmm. It'll send your brain the signal, basically, to tell you you're hungry. And leptin is a satiety hormone, so it'll tell you when you're full. And I can't remember the exact details of this study. Long story short, what they found was after a few weeks of bad sleep, I think it was under 6 hours, the group of people that slept under 6 hours were basically their ghrelin and leptin levels just changed, went the opposite way. So they were eating, they found that their appetite was through the roof. They were craving rubbish foods, and basically the hormone that was telling they were full was almost non-existent. Yeah. And ghrelin, the hunger hormone, was through the roof. Yeah. So, it affects your hormones. It affects absolutely everything. It regenerates your whole body. So we know about growth hormone as well. Yeah. Growth hormone, for example, this is just one of the many hormones, but that is basically secreted at the highest rate when you're sleeping, and that regenerates and reproduces all your cells. So if you're not getting, good quality sleep, I would like to stress to the listeners, is the most important part, really. So getting into that REM sleep, the rapid eye movement. If you don't get into a proper deep sleep, so you're not going to. And I'd just like to say, just give them some tips, right? Because I want to try and give them solutions. So, for example, the 3 most important things for good quality sleep is a dark room, okay, a cool room as well. So make sure your body temperature's down. You basically having a hot, cold shower before bed's good. Hot and then cold water to drop your core temperature. And what was the other one? There was another one as well. What was it? Darkness. It was darkness.
Is it your phone, the lights? You're going to talk about that?
Yeah. So there was that as well. Oh, listen, like I said, it goes to show, doesn't it? Yeah. Your brain doesn't operate properly when you haven't slept well. Anyway, those 2 things are really important. So preparing yourself for a good sleep is vital. So as you said, I always make sure, or I try to, I don't succeed always, come off my phone 1 hour before bed. At least 1 hour before bed, so no electrical activity on the brain, and turn the lights down as well. So you're in a darker room, one way or another. And I always read before bed as well. So don't, going on your phone just before bed. It's been proven the electrical activity actually kills the melatonin in your brain, which is the hormone which is released when it's dark and puts you into a deep sleep. Yeah. It kills off that hormone and increases your cortisol levels, your stress hormone.
So you don't feel like sleeping.
Exactly. And you don't get as good a quality sleep. So, awesome. It is absolutely vital, people. Yeah.
Awesome. You as a PT, what are the mistakes, you see in the gym in general, or something that you address constantly? As a PT, you see there's a lot of mistakes they do with clients, or people just in the gym in general, things that you see that people usually they do very wrongly. Okay. Do you have anything specific?
It's a good question again, but there's numerous different answers for that. But for example, when you look at the fundamental lifts, the most important lifts, which I shouldn't say lifts, I say exercises when it comes to weightlifting. Now, we all know weightlifting is by far superior to any kind of exercise when it comes to building up your metabolism, your bone density, overall health and longevity, because strength is the foundation for everything, right? So when it comes to lifting weights, the most important lifts are like squats, deadlifts, overhead press.
Compound exercises.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
That's how I've changed. I just changed it now after years and years because I started listening to Mind Pumping Media, and also your podcast. I realized how important those exercises were, and I was not doing any of them.
Yeah, so important.
So
and that's exactly what I was going to say. Way too many people mess around doing things they see, for example, on Instagram. They see these models they look up to doing exercises which are not really important. Because the thing is, humans are attracted to novelty, right? So we'll see someone doing something fancy looking, which looks different, for example, on Instagram or YouTube, and everyone jumps on board and does this exercise. For example, it could be like tying a band to a machine or doing some stuff with resistance bands, and all these things have their place, but people neglect the things which actually get you a bang for your buck, like your squats and your deadlifts. So I would say that's one of the biggest errors I see, is people not actually focusing on the big rocks and doing those kind of movements, but not focusing, because squats and deadlifts, they're both skills in their own right. Okay, as you know, so it takes a lot of time to master those movements. I still haven't mastered squats, and I've been doing them for years. So you don't see people taking them seriously enough, and they're just doing them willy-nilly and not focusing on technique. So it's getting those two movements right, you don't see people doing, but also just people focusing on technique in general. People, a lot of people are ego lifting, especially guys. So they're lifting heavy weights with rubbish form. But we all know, well, not we all know, but lifting weights is literally at least 70% psychological. So unless you're connecting to your muscles and doing it with good technique, then, you're not going to get the desired results. So,
it's funny that, because, if you go to university to learn, I don't know, you want to become a doctor, you got to go and study for it. You want to learn, how to ride a bike, you got to practice, you got to learn the techniques or anything that you want to learn. But when it comes to the gym, and it's funny how people just go straight to a gym and then just start pumping weights and trying to do some sort of exercise.
Exactly.
It's just weird why, we take for granted the learning process. I used to do that a lot, and I would just go to the gym and do anything and thought that I was actually getting the results. And now I've changed a little bit. It's insane how much I've changed, for the better.
100%.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, directing this at you, Rube, is your level of how much information you absorb is great. I mean, I remember when I first met you, when I got here, and I've always listened to podcasts over the last couple of years, but you introduced me to the audio, the audio books I'd never heard of, but never really, and you introduced me to them.
Amazing.
And you actually made me take it up a level, mate. So now when I'm training, it depends what mood I'm in. If I'm tired and not feeling up to training, I need some good music.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm listening to audio books now.
That's amazing.
So as you said, mate, it's, people just come into the gym and, again, go back to what I said, they'll see something online, or they'll just literally follow suit, follow the rest, like sheep kind of thing, following, not necessarily the right people.
Yeah.
But coming in and not really focusing enough on honing in on the technical side of it.
Yeah.
So,
I listened to one of the episodes you have with one of the guys from Mind Pump Media, was with Sal, and that was really crucial for me to change my exercise approach, because you guys talk about it. Something I got really out of it was the difference between adaptation and recovery. So I used to think that if I feel sore, I was growing muscle. And I will exercise maybe a chest on a Thursday, and I will feel so sore because I exhausted my muscles, and then I just exercise again on a Thursday again, right? And then that was actually recovery, not adaptation. Can you explain the difference and why it's so important to know those differences?
Yeah, you got that spot on, and that is one of the biggest takeaways from what I've learned from the Mind Pump guys. So listen up to this then, folks. Right. So a lot of us will go into the gym. Okay. I used to do this up until about 2 years ago, and think that we need to bust our balls and train at a high intensity in order to get results. And you want to be aching the next day. So we have this mentality of going into the gym and then hammering ourselves, breaking down muscle. And then if we're not aching the next day, it's almost like we're not satisfied, right? And we haven't done a good job.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're not aching, there's different variables here, but if you're doing it properly, the next day, yes, you should feel it. Don't get me wrong. You should feel like you've done something. But if you're aching for longer than about a day, 2 days max, you've done too much. So you've probably potentially broken down connective tissue, like tendons and stuff like that. And also you've just broken the muscles down too much. So as you just said then, what you're then doing is your body is going to prioritize recovery before it even considers building muscle.
That's insane. So different.
It's so different.
Oh my God.
Mate, and that's it. It's like, so you don't want to be in a constant state of recovery, as you said earlier. And that's how most of us, if I say us, I don't do that anymore. That's how most people tend to train, is they're aching. Oh yes, I've done a good job. For example, I've gone into the gym and hammered my legs, or I've done a leg session. You know when you can't walk for like 3-4 days?
Yeah.
Right? You think, yes, that was a great session.
I can't even go in the stairs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. You're like walking like you pooed yourself. You know?
Definitely.
And that's not the way to do it, folks. So there's a lot to talk about here, but just to break it down for you, if you focus on technique, like I said, and doing the big compound movements, squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, those kind of things. Military press, exactly. Those kind of things on a regular basis, but not really overdoing it on the volume. So not doing, for example, you only really need to do 1 or 2 exercises on each body part each time you train. So for example, what I do is I'll do, like the mind pump style is I'll do 3 sessions a week, big sessions, right? So full body workouts. And all I'm doing is I'm doing like 1 or 2 exercises for each body part. That's all I'm doing.
That's so different approach.
So different. But like you said earlier, the frequency though, Ruben, right? So
because then you go down to trigger sessions. And I want to talk about that because I didn't know what is trigger session. What is that?
Exactly. So that's what Mind Pump have taught me.
Yeah.
So the frequency, if I'm doing 3 whole body sessions a week, how many times am I hitting each body part in a week? If I'm doing 3 times. Yeah. There we go. Minimum, right? So I'm hitting hit every body part at least 3 times in a week. And then, as you said, another way of doing it on the days in between these sessions, it depends what my focus is. But if my focus is to build muscle and improve my performance and strength in the gym, what I will then do is I will do the trigger sessions, which the Mind Pump guys taught me, and that is using a resistance band. So a resistance band with handles on it, yeah?
So no weights.
No weights, just a resistance band, okay? And you do not need a heavy. So for example, when I'm doing these total body sessions, the intensity is moderate, sometimes a little bit high intensity, but I would say overall it's moderate. When I'm doing the trigger sessions, it's low intensity, okay? It's low intensity and I'm doing it with a light band. So, and I'm just getting the pump on, for about, say, 6 to 10 minutes. Yeah. I'll just do the whole body. I'll do like, for example, Rube, I'll do like 5 exercises. Yeah. So I'll do, for me, legs, as we said, legs is always a weakness. So I'll make sure I do squats. Sometimes I'll do 2 exercises for legs, but just body weight. And then I'll get the band for the upper body stuff. Yeah. And I'll do like 3 or 4 more exercises.
Warming up, priming your body. Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of, yeah, but just pumping the muscles up.
Yes.
And that does enough to send the muscle building signal, but also it helps you recover. It really helps you recover because you're getting some blood flowing into the muscles.
Yeah. That's it's just amazing.
It's crazy.
It's just a completely different concept.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. And if I'm doing a show, Rube, what I'll do is I'll do 3 big total body sessions, and then I'll do, I'll hit my weak body parts.
Yeah.
On the days in between in the gym. Yeah. So I'll do like a leg session, for example, on days in between, but it's not high intensity. Once again, it's moderate intensity. It's about 70% of what most people do in terms of intensity, but it's focused on connecting to the muscles. And it's that frequency and letting your body adapt to what you're doing. I won't go too much into that, but just to talk about recovery and frequency, game changers. But adaptation is another thing as well, right? Maybe I could talk about that another time. But
absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. I hope that made sense. Yeah,
that made a lot of sense. Cool, that's really good. That was really well spot on. What is the difference between good cholesterol and bad cholesterol? So talk us through about that, because I think we don't know anything about it and we just talk randomly.
Exactly.
What's the difference? Because bad cholesterol and good cholesterol, there's a difference.
That's right, yeah. So low LDL, so you got the low density lipoprotein, right? LDL. That is generally known as the bad type of cholesterol. However, right, there's a lot more to it. So doctors, I'm not gonna condemn any doctors or trying to shoot doctors down, because most of them are really, really intelligent, successful people, and they are absolutely amazing, right? But when it comes to chronic stuff, they're not the best when it comes to chronic. Not always across the board, but when it comes to addressing the root cause of a problem and actually, for example, knowing what cholesterol is, a lot of them, and it's not their fault, they're not fully educated on these topics. They're just not, right? So they still think cholesterol is bad, full stop. Okay? Great question, right? Once again. So LDL, there's 2 different types. There's small particles. Okay, so LDL is the bad type. I believe there's different types of particles. So it's not all bad. Okay, so the LDL actually is still good for you if you have a certain amount. HDL is known as the high density lipoproteins, which is really good for your heart and all these different things, right? So that is generally really good for you. But you can have too much of either. And the thing about cholesterol is it's actually a nutrient. So unfortunately, cholesterol has been given a really, really bad name, as if it's some kind of demon, right? And it's really bad for you.
Yeah.
But cholesterol is an essential nutrient, right? It actually transports. So look at it this way. A good analogy is cholesterol is like, imagine cars on a motorway, right? Cholesterol is like a car which is got the passengers in there, and the passengers are the fatty acids, okay? Essential fatty acids which we need to sustain life. And what this car does is it'll drive through your bloodstream, transporting those fatty acids around the body. So cholesterol actually transports fatty acids around the body. It's essential for your sex drive. It actually produces hormones. Cholesterol actually produces testosterone, lots of different hormones it plays a part in, but it is vital for, like I said, sex drive, testosterone levels. So for example, I'll actually go through phases where if I'm doing strength training, for example, another thing I stole off the Mind Pump guys is I will actually cycle my cholesterol. So I'll have about 7 or 8 days of having high cholesterol, super high, right? Which doctors would think I'm going to die.
And when you say that, what do you do?
So what I'll do is I'll have primarily high cholesterol foods such as animal offal. So, like chicken, sorry to any vegetarians and vegans out there. This is another level of animal, this. Chicken livers, lamb livers, animal offal.
Yeah.
Mainly livers, that's where you get most of the cholesterol.
Heart and stuff?
Yeah, heart as well, but generally I'll just stick to livers because you get such a wide range. So folks, by the way, animal offal as well is so nutritious. Okay, so animal offal and shellfish. Actually, those two kind of foods, so nutritious that if a vegan was to just eat once or twice a week, eat animal offal or shellfish, they would actually get in a wider range of nutrients than someone on a paleo diet who eats meat every single day, like a caveman. That's how nutritious these things are. So anyway.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was awesome. That's
all right, mate. So so I'll have those kind of foods, egg yolks as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. And eggs are like bloody, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like eggs have been given a really, really bad name. Like you had too many eggs.
The cholesterol, right?
Yeah, the cholesterol.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is, the yolk has loads of different nutrients as well, right? So lots of different B vitamins and a wide range of minerals. But also an egg yolk contains lecithin, right? Which actually is a compound which emulsifies the cholesterol. So it kills off some of the cholesterol anyway. But like I said, cholesterol is not all bad anyway. So egg yolks, animal offal, those kind of things, just meat and stuff like that. I won't have a stupid amount, but I'll just make a mindful effort of increasing those things. And by God, does it improve my strength and my libido. I mean, don't mean to be crude here, but my sex drive is decent, right? It's decent. Yeah. It's not too bad. But when I do have more cholesterol or saturated fat in general, I notice a massive difference, a huge difference.
That's insane.
Oh, mate, honestly.
Yeah.
Fats in general. When I started increasing and experimenting and having a wider range of fats, massive difference in my libido, my health, my overall health, my energy, everything, mate. Unbelievable.
And you touched on fat now. So what's the difference between the saturated fat and unsaturated fat?
Okay, so there's unsaturated fat. There's two types. So there's monounsaturated fats and there's polyunsaturated fats. Just to dumb it down, polyunsaturated fats are like your omega-3 fatty acids, for example, which you find in ocean fish, such as, mackerel, sardines, salmon, those kind of things, and tuna as well. But I always recommend those three normally. I always say salmon, sardines, and mackerel because less toxic. Tuna has high amounts of metal compounds such as copper and arsenic.
Yes.
Heavy
metals in there.
Heavy metals, that's what I'm looking for, so those three contain the polyunsaturated fats, for example, and then your monounsaturated fats are like your nuts, your avocado, those kind of things. Olive oil contains a bit of both. Walnuts are one of the best sources if you're a vegan or vegetarian. Walnuts are like the best source of omega-3. Yeah. If you don't eat fish, that is, packed full of healthy fats. And then you've got your saturated fats, and I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe there's about 9 different types of saturated fat. Mm-hmm. So it's very complex. People think saturated fat bad. In fact, folks, you should check out my episode on saturated fat I did recently on my podcast. But saturated fat, for example, butter. That's another thing. That we've been told not to eat butter and eat margarine. Oh my God, people, if there's one thing you're going to do not eat margarine, right? Eat butter. Or just don't eat any of them, right? But just don't eat because when you have, what's it called, margarine or something which is, posing as butter, if you like, but it's not. It's going to contain trans fats and hydrogenated fats and the worst kind of stuff you want in your body. You do not want that in your body, okay? And also the vegetable oils and
when you say it's better for you as well, because your body don't know how to digest, right?
Exactly.
So you're saying process that.
That's right. We didn't evolve eating those kind of things, but they've got bad fats, vegetable oils as well, which have been proven to be bad for us, despite what the media tells us. So yeah, just generally butter. If you have good quality grass-fed organic butter, right, really, really good for you. Generally, if you haven't got dairy intolerance, for example, butter contains myristic acid, which is a type of saturated fat, extremely good for a wide range of things. And bear in mind, folks, as well with fat, I believe the brain is around about 75% fat and cholesterol, something along those lines. So it just goes to show, like for your brain operation and actually, for survival, having an adequate amount of fat is really, really important. And that includes saturated fat. As I was saying, in butter, you have myristic acid. In coconut oil, for example, that's another form of saturated fat or, medium chain triglycerides, we call it.
Yeah.
But without going too sciencey, that contains lauric acid, which has a wide range of benefits for the heart, the immune system, the brain. So, so that's the difference between the two. Sorry, to answer your question.
Awesome. No,
I just wanted to try and educate them a bit.
Yeah.
The difference between the two is they both have their place. The best way to compare the two is they're both essential and, in the right amount though. So, but what they found, folks, is saturated fats you find in, butter, coconut oil, meat, eggs, those kind of things. And, dairy products as well. If you have like full fat Greek yogurt or whatever, or milk, they've done studies on women, and actually the women who had the highest amounts, I think it was a stupid amount, if I remember, in terms of the fat percentage, I'm pretty sure they had about 75% saturated fat and about 25% healthy fats, and they lost much more weight than the ones having high amount of the good fats.
Yeah.
So saturated fat is actually really, really important for weight loss and losing fat. So your body will actually break down whatever you put into it, right? So if you put fat into it, the right amount and the right types, it's going to utilize fat as energy and burn fat. Now, there's a lot of variables there again, right? So if you're eating too much carbs and sugar and whatnot and too many calories on top of that, doesn't quite work out. But that's just the way, best way to simplify it, really, mate. Yeah.
And then you touched on grass-fed butter. So what's the difference in how important it is to trying to eat grass-fed meat or grass-fed products instead of just eating the normal ones?
Yeah. Right. So with grass-fed butter, what I've kind of discovered recently is actually I didn't look too much into it, and I thought, right, it makes sense, grass-fed and grain-fed, right? So a cow which eats grains is similar to a human. If a human overeats grains, right, and carbs, generally, if they overeat anything, they're going to get fat, right? Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to grains, without going too much into it, when it comes to a cow eating grains, the only problem is with wheat-based products and grains in countries such as Australia's not as bad as America and the UK, where I'm from, so I hear, because the regulations. But they'll spray the wheats and the grains with pesticides for a start. Okay, so pesticides are like a chemical they use to preserve and stop bugs eating away at the plants, and it's been proven to increase estrogen levels and be linked to cancer, all sorts of issues with the gut and things like that. So they spray the wheat with pesticides for the first thing, and then what happens is they feed the shit out of the cow, right? So they'll give it loads of grains, it'll get big, right? So then when they actually slaughter it, again, sorry vegans, when they slaughter it, it's bigger, it's got more meat on it, but the cow then gets sick and whatnot. So generally a cow which eats grass as opposed to grains is going to be consuming a lot less, basically bad stuff. Yeah. So you're consuming whatever the cow consumes. So just try and go grass-fed if you can, but that doesn't mean it's organic. See, so that's another thing altogether. Is when you have grass-fed, it's still going to have the cow is still going to have hormones in it. Okay. So,
I did not know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. I thought that when you grass-fed, instantly you think that's organic already.
Exactly. That's what I thought up until recently. See, so generally.
And also has to be grass finished, which is, I didn't know that as well.
That's another thing, yeah.
Yeah, because they usually feed the cow grass, and then at the end they give them grains to just, build that muscle very quick. So you got to try to find grass fed and also grass finished.
That's it, exactly. So that's the best way to break it down is like, if it's eating grains, generally you're going to be consuming a lot more chemicals and stuff. Yeah. It's just not ideal for the body. So for longevity and health, go for the grass fed. or organic, one of the two. But the thing is, if you go organic, it can still be grain fed then, right?
Yeah.
But it means I would say, the player would say, if you're better off just going grass fed, and if you can know the source, so if you can get it from like a butcher's or something like that when it comes to the meat. But yeah, you can get good quality grass fed butter now in a lot of places.
I think a lot of people will come up, I don't buy grass fed because it's more expensive. But I'm learning now the amount of proteins necessary. I want to ask that question to you as well, because I realized that by eating less protein, but you still eat like animal protein, but eating the necessary amount, I was paying the same amount of money spending on meat, but I was buying a better quality meat, which is the grass-fed, when I do my groceries. So for our listeners, how much protein do you need, for example, for someone that want to lose weight, or someone that want to build muscle, or someone that just want to keep healthy, you know what I mean? How much protein is enough? You know what I mean? That's a lot of people don't know.
That's it.
And I think I was eating maybe 4 meals a day, and all 4 meals have animal meat. And, I don't know that. Is that good? Is that not good? How much protein?
Yeah, so I'll just go back a little step and just give the listeners a little insight into my experience with eating lots of protein. I'm pretty sure I've done some irreversible damage to my gut, and I'm pretty sure having too much protein for a long period of time when I was doing competitions for about 3 years and I wasn't educated, I was probably having about 3 times the amount I needed minimum. Okay, on top of that, it's hard to put my finger on it because I was having a lot of supplements as well, like protein supplements, which are really artificial and whatnot. So I was having way too much protein, and as soon as I cut my protein down and increased the amount of fat, so what I'd done then, rather than having heaps of protein and just eating unnecessary amounts, which my body was only absorbing a third of it at most anyway, so it was just a waste of calories for a start. But when you eat a lot of protein, now they've done a lot of studies, and what they're finding is actually when you have too much protein, even like twice the amount you need for a sustained amount of times, it can increase the risk of certain types of cancer by about 400%.
Wow.
So it's really, really acidic, it's protein. And to break it down, the body has to work really, really hard.
Just protein generous or animal protein in particular?
Oh, yeah. Obviously, animal proteins in particular are a lot more acidic, as far as I know. But protein in general, if you overload the amount you have, whether you're getting it from, vegetables or animals or supplements, whatever, generally, obviously, if you're getting it from vegetables, you're not going to get that high amount into it. It can be dangerous. But it can be really bad on the body. So for the listeners, what I always recommend people to have, so for example, if your goal is to look better, feel better and whatnot, which is for the majority, then I always recommend, if you're new to lifting weights, again, there's a lot of variables here, but
because everyone's different.
Everyone's different, but generally, I get people there and about having about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I don't know why I do pounds for. That's an American.
Just because it's not the UK, because it was like how much is kilos. I have no idea.
Exactly. So I'll just try and so it's 2.2 pounds to a kilo. So say about roughly about 0.4 kilos. So if you have like 1 gram. So let me just work that out now. Let's just go to pounds, right? I'm not very good at
maths. No problem.
I'll break it down now.
That's all right. We'll break that afterwards.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. So,
I'll put the show notes.
I would say, if you're new to lifting weights, right, you need more protein, okay? So if you're new to the gym, you're new to lifting weights, it's a new adaptation for the body, therefore your body needs more protein. So I always get people to have 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh, say, 150 pounds, you need around about 150 grams of protein, I would say, for you to get really good results. But that's the maximum amount, Ruben, right? So anything from about 0.6 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is suffice. So with me, I think I average around about the minimum. So I'd say about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So I weigh roughly about 200 pounds and I have there and about 160 grams of protein a day.
And when you put this on a meal, to explain our listeners how much you're eating and if you can have a portion, how much protein you have in a plate, for example.
On a plate.
So if you have an idea.
Yeah, on a plate, all you need is like a palm size amount. So let's just say 3 times a day, right? So if you're having 3 meals a day, which most people do, all you need is about a palm size amount of meat.
In each meal.
In each meal. That's all you need, meat or fish, however you want to distinguish that. And that's all you need, really. That's going to be a sufficient amount for most, without going into the grams and stuff. Generally, when it comes to health and stuff like that and actually build a muscle, that's going to be enough. So, for example, someone who wants to get, let's just say 150 grams of protein in, So like the average woman probably weighs roughly around that anyway, right? Let's just say 150 pounds. What's that in kilos? That's about 60 kilos, around about 60 kilos, there and about. So give or take a bit, 60 kilos. You actually don't. So if you weigh 60 kilos, you probably only need about 0.6 of that. So just trying to figure it out now. So on a plate, the best way to put it is if you get. I'll just go back to basics and say you just literally get three palm full size. So I just lost my way a bit then because I'm trying to do all these calculations in my head. I'm not really going to match. But there we are. I'm just going to say I don't know on that one. But so there's a lot of variables. But don't overthink it with protein, mate. Don't bother with supplements. I just want to put that one out there. Don't get too hung up on taking protein shakes, okay? Because that is going to be the small 1% of your end goal. Okay, focus on eating whole foods. And as me and Ruben just discussed.
And what's whole food for the listeners?
Whole foods. When it comes to meat, make sure it's grass-fed or organic or whatever. And vegetables.
Yeah.
I don't always. If you're not eating any vegetables, then just make a point of starting to eat some vegetables. Okay. So you need basically, ideally, you want some. You want some above the ground vegetables and some below the ground vegetables on your plate. So on your plate, for example, you want like a third meat, a third above the ground, and a third below the ground. So for example, below the ground are going to be your, your cruciferous veg, such as broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, kale, those kind of things. Yeah. Got it the wrong way around. That's going to be above ground. And then the root vegetables, such as carrots, all those kind of things, sweet potato, all those kind of things. You want a combination of that on your plate, essentially. Yes. So whole foods, the best way to describe it is anything which hasn't been tampered with too much. Nowadays,
has been changed by the human. Just that came from the nature, just itself, as the way it is.
Exactly. Yeah. If it grows on trees or it grows under the ground, then that's the kind of stuff you want in your body. For the most part, though, people, don't get me wrong, I don't eat whole foods 100% of the time. You want to have a break every now and then. Occasionally, I try not to eat any processed foods nowadays, Rube, but occasionally it happens, doesn't it? We're human. But just be mindful. Be mindful,
Don't go too crazy.
That's it.
B12, we're talking about protein now. So can you get B12? Maybe explain how important B12 is and if you can get from animal protein, but also if you can get from vegetables, and what's the difference?
Okay, so B12 is also known as folate. Okay, that's the nutrient it is. And the thing with B12 is you cannot physically get the right amount into your body. Supplements are not the same, see, Rube, right? So yes, if you're a vegetarian or vegan and you don't eat red meats, then yes, you can take supplements, but the body doesn't absorb. It's nowhere near as bioavailable in the body. So we do need a certain amount of red meat, maybe once or twice a week, ideally for most people. Again, everyone's different, but for most people, you're going to need to get once or twice a week, good source of red meat in the body, right? Because that's going to give you the highest dose of B12. Now, there's different types of vegetables you can get it in. And if I'm honest, I'm a little bit rusty at the moment. I can't think specifically which ones have the highest amount in. I'll have to do a bit of research on that. I do believe like hemp seeds and stuff like that and hemp-based products have a decent amount of B12 in. Yeah. But generally, you do need to eat some sort of meat. And the thing is, with people who are vegans and stuff, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to attack any vegans. Like a lot of people do it for moral reasons. They do it because
we do appreciate that.
That's right.
We know where they're coming from.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally. But for health reasons, even people who think they feel good, they switch over to the vegan diet. Oh, I feel really good. Most of the time, that's because of the stuff you've eliminated. So a lot of people then end up eating more vegetables and eliminating processed food. So they end up eating a bit healthier. That's normally why they feel better. But what they find is a couple of years down the line, most of these people are getting nutrient deficiencies and primarily B12. So you can get B12 in eggs and stuff as well and other types of meats, fish as well. Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to the listeners. I'm a little bit rusty. I wish I'd have touched up on my nutrition a bit more before this.
That's right.
But generally...
We're not expecting those questions.
Yeah, exactly. You threw me a bit.
Man, I did all this study on you, man. I've been listening to your podcast for like 2 weeks before this.
Exactly, that's it. But just be mindful of that, folks. I just want to talk a little bit more about meat, is because a lot of people have watched that. I don't know. My first ever episode, actually, podcast episode, was on What the Health.
What the Health, documentary,
That's right, yeah. So obviously, the people who were running that documentary were doing it from a moral standpoint. Clearly, they were against animal cruelty and whatnot. But for them to portray and try and brainwash people into thinking that meat is all meat's bad for you and eggs are bad, and they compared fish to having 5 cigarettes. Oh my God. So a lot of my listeners, I still have to try and convince that actually no, meat is actually essential. It's in a sense we evolve eating some meat.
Yeah.
But you can eat too much of anything, Rube. But with B12, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, get yourself some sublingual spray, ideally. That's the best way to get it in your body if you're going to get a supplement.
What is that?
So it's like a spray.
Really?
Spray it on your tongue.
Yeah.
As far as I know, that's the best way to get it in.
Awesome.
Because, hemoglobin levels.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the best way. So, if you're a vegan or vegetarian.
Okay.
Hope that clears that up, mate.
That's awesome. So let's talk about intermittent fasting. I know you do approach
Yes, I know about this one. That's good.
Yeah. And tell the listeners the benefits of it. And because, like, for example, a lot of people say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And we've been sold on that for so many years. Your family used to say the same thing, and you always have your cereal in the morning with that milk. Tell us, listen, about intermittent fasting and why breakfast is not, the most important meal of the day.
Okay, so intermittent fasting is, the best way to put this is fasting is actually a stress on the body, right? So I would never recommend intermittent fasting to someone who is a beginner when it comes to nutrition and eating the right foods. However, it has been proven time and time again that different forms of fasting on humans is actually really, 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 really extremely, in fact, I can't actually express how good it is on the body. However, again, everyone's different. So it is a stress on the body, fasting, just like, lifting weights and vigorous kinds of exercises are a stress on the body. It's not the actual stress on the body which is favorable for the body. It's the way your body responds to that stress. For example, just to give you a little bit of an analogy, so when you lift weights, you break down muscle tissue. Your body then has to adapt and respond to that stress by building muscle to protect you from the insult next time in the gym. It's the same for fasting, right? So with fasting, if you deprive the body of food, then what it will do is it'll actually regenerate. So don't get me wrong. Some people, like I've tried it with a few people, and what I find with intermittent fasting is, like I said at the start, I always I always get people to a high level with their nutrition. I'll get them tracking their calories. I'll get them to learn lots and lots about their body before I even mention fasting to them. Now, that is because you need to know your stuff before you start fasting. So for most people, as I was saying, fasting is really good because all the good stuff in your body, right, folks, just listen to this one. All the good stuff in your body happens when you're not eating, right? So whenever you're eating, your body is under a little bit of stress, okay, to break down food and whatnot, which means it has to prioritize that over other operations, such as, regenerating your cells, your immune system and whatnot. So with intermittent fasting for me, because I do this every single day, right? So generally, I just don't have breakfast. So I'll eat... let's just say on average, most days I'll eat between roughly about 11 and 8 p.m. or between 12 and 8 p.m. So it's like an 8 or 9 hour window. And a lot of people think, oh crap. They're probably thinking, how does he go without breakfast? And it's like, folks, you're eating out of habit. I'm just gonna tell you how it is, right? Most of us just eat out of habit. We do not know what it's like to be hungry in these countries, in westernized countries. I know what it's like to be hungry from doing competitions I've done, where I've got my body fat down to like 2-3%.
Wow.
So just bear that in mind. So many different things that link in fasting to, and I don't want to recommend this to anyone, but intermittent fasting is really, really good because you can fit that into your lifestyle. Okay, so for me, it's like I have clients at like 5-6 a.m. in the morning, so it's not convenient for me to eat at 4 a.m. in the morning anyway. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't really want.
And you're gonna feel sleepy after you eat as well.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. But if I do have breakfast, I'll have like a high protein, high fat breakfast. For example, I'll have like an omelette, or I'll have just some eggs and steak with some greens and avocado. Mm-hmm. So high protein and fat, not so much carbs.
Easy to digest.
Easy to digest, and it'll actually give you energy because it gives you more sustained energy when you eat fat and fiber and sufficient protein. But so I'll skip breakfast. And it serves me really well with my lifestyle. And a lot of people, it does work for them because they don't have to worry about preparing their food as well and preparing X amount of meals each day. They can just have one meal in the day. So generally what I'll do on a day where I'm not doing like a big full body session, when I break my fast at like 12 p.m., it'll be a big meal, but it'll be predominantly protein and fats and lots of vegetables. So I'll have a wide range of vegetables. I'll have, for example, some avocado, some olive oil, some nuts, some ocean fish maybe as well, which is packed full of fats. So I'm packing about, 1,000 calories minimum into that first meal, but it's the right kind of nutrients and calories. Yeah. So it's not like sugary carbs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And that'll give me a boost of energy then, and it'll serve me for a good few hours. And sometimes on some days, this is rare because I'm a big guy, I need to eat at least 3,500 calories just so I don't, a minimum, just so I don't lose weight. So I'll just have another meal in the evening, I'll have another big feast in the evening. So I like to call it intermittent feasting, because you can just have big ass meals, man. I love having big meals. It's like having a feast every time you eat.
I'm the same with you. I would rather do that than small meals. I feel so like, oh my God, I just ate nothing. I need to eat more.
Oh, definitely. That's exactly right. I know. That's exactly the same. I just wanted to say, just to run through some of the health benefits. So this is what I like to clear up, is the problem is with fasting, you'll hear lots and lots more about this now, folks, right? The only reason you haven't heard too much about it is because companies find it hard to promote fasting, right? What can you sell to make people, you know what I mean? It's not
you're not eating, right? You're not going to buy anything.
Exactly. I'm sure they'll bring some sort of pill out or something.
And especially if you get rid of your breakfast, you're going to get rid of a lot of food that you only eat on a breakfast,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
And that's not beneficial for companies that only sell products that people are consuming during breakfast.
100%. That's exactly right. And the thing is with fasting is people look at it as a way to get leaner and to lose weight. Do not go down the path of using fasting, even intermittent, even if you're going like longer periods without food, even if it's just 12 hours, you're trying to drag out, longer times in between meals or wherever it is. Don't use that as a way of losing body fat and losing weight. That's not the way to look at it, right? Because you're looking at it the wrong way. And all that does then is it creates a disorder, because then you're essentially looking at, I'm going to try and starve myself to get leaner. Now that's the bottom of the list in terms of the benefits, losing body fat. For me, I mean, they found neurogenesis is one of them, right? So your brain cells regenerates. Okay. So actually your brain, like I said, regenerates, reproduces cells. Okay. Also, autophagy. So that's the fascinating one for me, is where
destruction of the bad cells.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So what will happen is the immune system will wipe out dead cells and bad cells that are no longer needed by the body and actually replace them with new ones. So reboost your immune system, which is obviously, it increases longevity and whatnot. There's loads of different benefits. You're not releasing insulin either. So when you're fasting, obviously you're not having carbohydrates or any food which are going to release insulin, which is a fat storing hormone and is linked to diabetes and all these, it plays a massive part. I don't care what anyone says. A calorie is not a calorie. What a lot of people are eating nowadays with a westernized diet and processed foods, pumping out insulin, pumping all these refined sugars into their body all the time. They become insulin resistant. So the body becomes resistant to insulin, and then that converts into diabetes. So that's another thing. You're not releasing insulin. You're giving your body a break, right? I'd go on forever. You're releasing more growth hormone as well when you're fasting. So when you're in a fasted state, you're pumping out more growth hormone, which is the opposite to insulin. It's a fat burning hormone. So I could go on forever, but I don't want to promote it too much. If you're at a decent level and you're eating healthy and you're a healthy individual, by all means try it, but start off with like maybe just a 12-hour fast. Okay. So for example, if you're going to finish eating at like 8 p.m. or say you finish eating at 6 p.m. The next day then break your fast 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or something in the morning, right? So that's like a 12, 14-hour fast.
Yeah.
Don't go straight into like 16 to 20 hours straight away.
Yeah.
See how you feel, pay attention to how you feel and whatnot, because what I find is, I don't know, it's something to do with the hormonal makeup of a woman.
Yeah,
I've had some bad feedback of women in the past with fasting. So it's
especially
not for
if you're
everyone.
pregnant, don't try this with your pregnant.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Rube. It's a stress on the body.
It's a stress on the body.
Yeah, there we go. But it's a good stress, okay, if you do it right. I want to put that in there as well, right? I love it. I'm an advocate. I wish I could make my own supplement. What can I do, mate? Can I get some sort of slim fast?
Slim fast.
Yeah, slim fasting or something like that. I don't know. Let's figure something out after this.
We'll definitely do something. And you always talk about improve your relationship with food. What do you mean by that, and when did you start thinking this way?
Okay, so what I meant by that is improving my relationship with food. So yeah, I always thought to myself, because the first people that brought that to mind for me, once again, is the Mind Pump guys. And I thought to myself, when he first said it, I laughed. I was like, relationship with food, as if like you're sleeping with it or something, you know what I mean? It's like, or you're building up a bond or a friendship with an apple or something. I'm like, what are these guys? These guys are way out there.
Yeah.
And then I just started to actually identify what it meant. And in reality, so I was in a bad place with food, with my relationship with food. So restrictive eating, okay, when I was preparing for competitions and modeling shoots and whatnot, which was about 3 years, pretty continuously, like pretty frequently, I was doing a photo shoot or I was doing a competition, and I didn't know anywhere near what I know now, so I was restrictive eating. So, for example, I'll just give an example of a photo shoot I'd done. I had like a 4-week cut, right? So, I was already quite lean. So I thought, right, I have to get shredded for this shoot, right? So I had 4 weeks and I literally ate primarily chicken and spinach and broccoli for 4 weeks, right? Okay, there was some sweet potatoes, some salmon, some nuts here and there, but that's pretty much what I would do because that's all I knew. All I knew was the bodybuilding way, like I'd done for shows, where it would be chicken and broccoli. Okay, so the thing is, most of us are brainwashed into the bodybuilder mentality when it comes to eating 6 meals a day and eating chicken and broccoli like that's somehow good for you, right? Anyway, so I would restrict the foods I was having, and then what would happen when I finished the shoot is I would rebound, right? I would rebound for about, sometimes it would go on for days, even a week after a show before. I was eating crap every single day for a week. So essentially, I created a disorder. So the binge eating disorder is what I actually, it's a lot more common than you think, guys, by the way. So talking about a relationship with food, an example of someone with a poor relationship with food is someone with the binge eating disorder. Now, in Australia, for example, I think about 50% of all eating disorders, so whether that be what's it called, anorexic, anything like bulimic, all these things, 50% of those are binge eating. So the binge eating disorder is by far the most common one. So a lot of people are not even aware they have it, especially guys, because they just do it and they think, oh yeah, it's okay, I can have a day off. But no, it doesn't really work like that. It's not good for your body when you're binging. So I developed a poor relationship with food through binge eating after restricting myself for competitions and whatnot. And then talking about the damage I'd done to my gut, it was partly the amount of protein I was having, I think, and the stress I put on my body, and then restrictive eating and binge eating, over, the space of a few years, really, on and off. I'd done some irreversible damage to my gut, and mentally, talk about mentally, right? I was in a bad place. So let me just try and relate this more to the listeners. So a lot of people might be listening to this thinking, I eat quite healthy, okay? Now, that's another thing, right? I have people come into me on their first consultation, and a lot of the time I'll ask them, do you eat healthy? And they'll say, yeah, I eat really healthy. And I'll say, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to just track what you're having. There's an app you can use, folks, by the way, if you want to learn more about nutrients and your calories. It's called MyFitnessPal. That's what I use. Do you use that at all, Ruben?
No, I haven't used it, but I've seen you always bring it up this year podcast.
You don't need to, mate. You're shredded all year round nowadays. You're just bloody hell. Can't keep up with this guy.
Maybe you bring my muscle mass. That's all I do.
Don't take your top off next to me today, mate. Yeah, but that's it. And they think they're eating healthy, but in reality they're eating like way too much sugar or whatnot. So it's just being mindful, and what we don't realize is a lot of the foods we've been brought up eating, right? Like from a young age, for example, I used to eat lots of cereal, lots of full fat milk, which is not always a bad thing, but again, going back to the quality of the milk, it wasn't organic kind of thing. And all of these things, right? And processed foods as well. Like, I wasn't poor growing up, but I wasn't particularly well off either.
Yeah.
So my mum used to get, food which wasn't the best quality. Bless her. I don't mean that she always put food on the table, the best mother in the world. But when I look back, a lot of it was processed, right? And the thing is, a lot of us are brainwashed into thinking that most of these foods, like, they'll market certain things, like, for example, even protein bars, for example. That's an example, right? They market them as healthy. They're not healthy. Look at the list, people. When you look at things you're going to buy, have a look how many ingredients are in there for a start, right? And if you've got a few more than 2 or 3 ingredients in there and some weird names you never saw before, it's not going to be good for you. So it's actually when it comes to a healthy relationship with food, it's actually educating yourself on what's healthy and what's not, right? And just going back to what we said earlier, eating stuff which we evolved eating. Fruit, veg, some good quality animal proteins, right? Yeah, and there's a wider range of food out there which is derived from certain things, there's different types of seeds, and,
of course,
there's enjoyable, I'll make it sound really bland, but yeah, so just to answer that question, what I mean by a healthy relationship with food is, eating to live, okay, and not living to eat. And most of us do live that way, you know, where our brains are hijacked into chasing sugar. So without realizing it, most people, and I'm not trying to be condescending, but most people listen to this now, their primary goal when they eat a meal is to get carbohydrates in, whether they know it or not, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to have this protein bar. You're going for the sugar and the sweeteners. You're not going for the protein. Let me tell you. You try eating protein on its own. It's not very enjoyable. Try eating some egg whites, right? Or some whey protein, which is unflavored, 100%. It tastes like shit. It doesn't taste great. You know what I'm saying? It's
really
not particularly enjoyable. Yeah. So it's always going to be the sweeteners. So artificial sweeteners, right? Some of them, like sucralose, for example, it's 600 times sweeter than sugar, right? So when you have a protein bar, an artificial one, it's going to have sucralose and maybe some other sweeteners in there. So you're tricking your brain into thinking it's having sugar, but essentially it's just having nothing, right? Because it's a non-nutritive thing. Artificial sweetener doesn't have any calories. So you're not getting the calories from the sugar or the carbs, but your brain thinks you are. So it's releasing insulin, and then it's changing your gut flora. So you're going to be chasing then those kind of foods. So it's educating yourself on hidden sugars and stuff like that, and just focusing on eating more fats, folks. So with your meal, for example, having vegetables, a decent amount of vegetables, and another thing I don't want to condemn is carbohydrates. Right? I'm not one of these people. Oh, carbs make you fat. Carbs are bad. No, too much protein can make you fat. Too much fat can make you. Too much anything can make you fat. Right? But with carbohydrates, it's the rate that the carbohydrates, it's the rate at which the carbohydrates hit your bloodstream, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having something which is like, processed, or, something which is really sweet, like something like sweets or something rubbish, then it's going to hit your blood sugar. It's going to spike your blood sugar really, really fast. You have to pump out lots of insulin. Normally those foods haven't got any fiber in, which give you the slow releasing kind of. So for example, if you're having something crap over a piece of fruit like an apple is going to contain polyphenols, okay, which is like a powerful antioxidant, and also lots of fiber, which is going to slow down the rate it breaks down and give you more satiety. But not so, you don't want to overeat fruit either, right? So like some fruit is good, but focus mainly on vegetables because packed full of fiber, slow release and sustained energy, and just try and reduce processed refined carbohydrates, cereals, most pasta, bread as well. Now, most of these things, folks, I hate to tell you, are actually going to contain refined sugars and some sort of chemicals, and they're going to be processed one way or another. And we eat those things out of habits. And they're not ideal if your goal is, overall. Those are not the worst kind of foods, but I'm just saying they're the go-to foods for a lot of people, right? Like pasta, bread, cereal. Yeah,
definitely.
Just be mindful, and they're not ideal for the body. If you're going to eat bread, ideally like sourdough is better, because a lot of the time if you can get good quality sourdough, it's fermented, so it's good for the gut and less gluten. So just being mindful of those things really. So
How are we with time, Matty?
We're okay. So we got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Cool.
Yeah, maybe
just go.
Maybe about 8 minutes to be specific.
8 minutes? Okay, we got to quick on that. Okay, then just go over.
Sorry, sorry, people. So I go off on a tangent a bit.
That's absolutely fine.
You can see I'm passionate. I said that at the start.
I love it. I'm just going to go through it because I have so many other questions. Let's see more important ones. I want to talk about this. People think about working with weights only for building muscle mass, or if they want to lose weight, they just go on a treadmill and they run crazy hours and they just go the extreme. Why that? Tell the listeners why this is the wrong approach.
Okay, cardio. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and break these questions down into about a minute answer now, right?
Let's do it.
More. Okay, so cardio is a little bit overrated, okay? When you do cardio, automatically, yes, you're going to burn some calories, okay? So you're going to go on a treadmill, for example, and run. Let's say you burn 200 calories, great. Afterwards, boom, that's it, it's done. You're not burning any more calories then from that cardio. When you lift weights, your body will start manually burning more calories, because when you build muscle oxidizes fat, and a good analogy is muscle is expensive, right? Muscle tissue is expensive. It costs a lot of calories for the body. So 1 pound of muscle will burn you around about 30 to 50 calories a day, okay? So if you build, say, 5 pounds of muscle over the space of 8 weeks, let's say, okay, that's like an extra up to 250 calories your body's burning manually by you doing no extra. Another thing with cardio is, the body adapts in a way which is not ideal. So if you're doing cardio day in, day out, your metabolism will actually slow down, okay? Because you're burning calories automatically all the time. So why is your metabolism going to speed up? It doesn't make sense. As if for your resting metabolic rates to speed up from you doing cardio.
Protection.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So cardio is good, right? But I would recommend low intensity cardio. Focus on moving. Focus on your movement, okay? So it's the movement you're doing without the cardio you're doing without being aware of it, day-to-day life. If you have got an office jobs, folks, and you're sat on your ass for most of the day, then get up and walk around for a bit, okay? Go on a little walk every hour. Be more active. That's the most important thing, right? So weight training and activity, okay, over cardio. Okay, but high intensity cardio does have its place as well, right? So, but it's
like
more of a tool.
sprinting and stuff like that.
Exactly, but it's a tool. Yeah,
it's a tool.
Do it for say 3 or 4 weeks. The body adapts, and then it becomes diminishing.
Yes.
So focus on lifting weights and moving enough. That's the best way to put it. Ruben.
Yeah. You talk about a lot social comparison, and I know you read The Settled Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a great book, and now also that one about social media and distraction on the phone. I forgot the name, but I actually listened twice already.
Irresistible.
Yes, that's the one. I've listened twice. It's an amazing book. It's
I've got to listen again as well.
It's so good. But talk about the social comparison thing and how you can apply this into fitness.
Yeah, exactly. So social comparisons nowadays are rife, right? Because social media. So, for example, just to break down what that is, now, subconsciously, we compare ourselves to others anyway. Just to put that out there, folks, subconsciously, it is completely normal for you to be comparing yourself to other people. It's an evolutionary thing. It was essential for survival, right? So you're doing that subconsciously anyway. Let alone when you've got social media, and, for example, you go on your newsfeed. I'll just use women as an example, because I train a lot of women. A lot of them spend a lot of time scrolling through Instagram and looking at other models they look up to, and you're comparing yourselves to their body, okay? And all you're doing is making yourself feel worse, and over time you're cementing in insecurities. So you're making yourself more and more insecure, and you're making your mind more fragile, because you're going to shoot yourself down there when you look in the mirror and you compare yourself to this fitness model who looks amazing, by the way, on Instagram and Facebook. But trust me, I've met a lot of them, and they don't look how they look in the flesh. I'm not mentioning any names, right? But don't get me wrong, a lot of them do look great in the flesh, but like what you see on Instagram and Facebook is not real. It's not a real world, right? So just do me a favor and try not to don't follow too many people, right? You only need to follow certain people. Like, for example, if you're going to follow fitness, why not follow just me for guys and follow a girl, right? You don't need to follow like 20 of each. You just don't need to do that, right? Yeah. So just follow the big player, the people that you really look up to, and just don't bombard yourself with all this stuff on your news feed. And just focus on educating yourself by listening to like podcasts and audio books, just like Ruben mentioned to me, as opposed to scrolling through your news feed and putting yourself into a worse state long term. Really, it's not doing you any favors.
Awesome. How many minutes we've got?
We've probably got about another 6 minutes, 5 or 6
minutes. Awesome. Perfect. Go down, because I want to talk about your program, because I know you started your business as well. And I know that. Talk about your program and the difference of the 3 phases and why it's different from other approaches, and, just tell me about your business and what you're trying to create now. Okay, great. So at the moment, I've just got these, I've got 2 programs right now. I've got Build Your Best Body, which is inspired by Mind Pump. Okay, so it's just like Ruben said earlier. It's very similar in terms of the concepts. So it's designed for you to do 2 to 3 total body weight training sessions per week. And then the days in between, you do pump-up sessions, okay? So I had to change the name, but I couldn't call it trigger sessions. So you do pump-up sessions on the days in between. Like that, pump-up sessions with a band on the days in between, and I put my own stamp on it a little bit. So that's one of my programs, and that is going to get you. It's going to build you. It's a 9-week program. It's going to build you heaps of muscle, and basically it's going to get you performing better in the gym, and it'll be an absolutely game changer. And it's going to really build your metabolism as well, because the significant amount of muscle you're going to build within that period is going to get your metabolism roaring. So that's my number 1 program. I've got a new one now, which is the 28-day challenge, which essentially is designed to get people to reset their gut a little bit by eliminating dairy and wheat products generally, and focusing on whole foods and just moving more. It's very basic, folks, but if you want to get leaner for a holiday or whatever, the 28-day challenge is for you. Like I said, I don't like doing short term, so I do have some follow-up methods for you as well after the 28 days. But that's my 2 main programs, and I have an ebook as well now. Amazing. Awesome. Which I'm well done, mate. No worries, but they can sign up for my free taster of the ebook anyway if they want. So I can add them to the newsletter if they send me their email one way or another. Anyway, so we'll definitely get at the end of this episode. Any unusual thing or habit about you? Unusual habit. Weird. Anything. That's a good shout. That is. I like to rap to myself a lot. I like hip hop. Yeah, awesome.
So like, I like literally 80% of the music I listen to is hip hop and rap, and I'll just constantly, I've got lyrics going around in my head.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm a bit strange. I'll do it in like different voices and like weird. Like,
oh really?
yeah. You know, just to entertain myself from time to time, and my girlfriend as well. She thinks I'm a bit weird as well. You know, dancing around when there's no music on and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's more just like, just talking to myself occasionally.
Amazing.
Really, but rapping, it's weird.
That's awesome. That's lovely, man. Well, any quotes you live by and why?
Okay, so quotes I live by.
Could be just one.
Could just be one, yeah. Okay, so, you know what, I don't know whether this is a quote, but this is something that just sprung to mind then. Be the best version of you, okay? Now you're probably thinking, oof, that's quite vast, right? But going back to what we were saying about social comparisons, the problem is, right, we get so sucked in now, we do not realize it, but with social media, it's an experiment, folks. They haven't got long-term studies to prove the detrimental effect it's going to have on your brain. Don't get me wrong, it's great in other areas and technology is great, but there's going to be a dark side. Okay, so be the best version of yourself. Okay, focus on yourself. Like I said, try not to compare yourself to other people too much. Focus on your health, right? So when it comes to looking good and feeling good, you need to make health priority, right? And what I mean by that is focus on the 4 pillars of health. Okay, to be the best version of yourself, focus on the big rocks: sleep, food, exercise, and creating relationships. Okay, healthy relationships with people. Focus on those 4 things, okay? And I guarantee you'll be on the right tracks to be the best version of yourself.
Amazing. And before we go into how people can find you on everywhere, 1 or 3 things you're most grateful for and why?
Okay, so one or 3?
1 or 3, up to you.
Okay, all
or
right.
5.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so number 1 is obviously going to be my health. Okay, so I'm extremely grateful for my health, and I take it for granted. You know, I take it for granted that I'm in a healthy state, and I'm in the shape of my life without thinking about it as well, as a byproduct of good health. So that's
part of who you are now.
That's it. It's part of who I am. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Secondly, I'm extremely grateful for my family. You know what it's like, Ruben.
Of course.
Our family's on the other side of the world.
14,000 kilometers away.
Exactly. Even further for me, mate.
Yeah.
So they're the other side of the world. And to be honest, I've always been super grateful for my family. I've only got a small family, predominantly just my mum and sister. And, it makes you realize when you come away how grateful you actually are for them.
Feel more connected, right?
Exactly.
I feel the same way.
Exactly. So my family, I'm super grateful for. And I'm going to say as well, I'm just going to be basic with this one and just say my girlfriend as well.
Amazing.
I'm super grateful for her because
awesome, man.
I've only been with her for like 3 months, but she is just awesome in so many ways.
Amazing. And we'll make sure she listens to this as well.
I know, I'm really, 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 really grateful for that, and gratitude for that daily, mate. 100%.
Amazing.
I had to say that one, didn't I? You put me on the spot there. I said 2. I thought, shit, I got to say a third one now. Sorry, Kim. No. I meant that.
You definitely meant that. I can feel it, Kim. I can see in the eyes.
Good.
Let's finish this up. Where the listeners can find you if they want to check out your website, your program, if you want to reach out, where they can find you. And I'll put everything on the show notes afterwards, of course.
Great. Thanks, brother. Instagram is @Martin Silva Fitness.